Are you looking for some extra ways to make some cash or a side hustle that you can consistently bring in $500+ a month? Then you've come to the right place, because in this video, we're going to go over exactly just that. If you like this content, please hit the like button, as well comment down below on your feedback, and as well please consider subscribing if you'd like to see more of these videos. So the first ones are going to be these survey websites or these gaming websites where you go ahead and play some video games, give them some feedback, and then you get paid. You get paid $5 to $100, depends on how much you do it. And these are completely free, no catch whatsoever. You just sign up, go ahead, give them, fill out the survey or play some video games, give them feedback, and then you get paid. The second one is going to be flipping items. So these are small items, right? You're going to go to yard sales, garage sales. You can even go online, Facebook Marketplace, wherever it may be, where you can find these items, get it at a lower price than what you can resell it for, right? And I have to make that obvious because that's the only way you're going to go ahead and make some cash, right? But you can make some good money. I found stuff online where I bought it for $5, and then 3 years later, I'll go ahead and resell it for 20 something bucks. And these are just items that I use in the house, right? But obviously, if you're looking to make like a quick cash, quick cash, you're going to go ahead, purchase these products at a lower price than you would normally pay for it. You're going to have to bargain, right? And then you're going to go ahead and resell it at a higher price. And a lot of times you can get people to come actually pick it up. And then, if it's smaller products, you can get it shipped out as well. But you can make some decent money from that. I've had personally made money just selling stuff that we were tossing away every time. And I've sold in garage sales over $1,000. These are just items that I've just had laying around, right? But you can make definitely some good money if you put some thought process into it and get the proper items. Another thing that you can do as well when you're selling these products online, finding them through garage sales or finding them through Facebook Marketplace, and that's finding furnitures to flip. Furnitures are probably the most high-end stuff, or appliances, right, that you can go ahead and buy and flip. They're going to cost a little more, but you're also going to get a larger profit margin if you negotiate right and get a huge discount on the front end. And it's going to require a little more legwork, right? You're going to need to get furniture, dollars to make furniture moving easier, or somebody's help to move furniture is easier, a truck that's got more accessibility. Same thing with, appliances. So you can make a little more, but there's gonna be a little more invested. So, but that's something that if you've got some time to invest into, you can get started with that and then move on to, flipping bigger and better things and make more money. But just keep it in mind, the more money you make, the riskier it can get with those type of items as well. So that is a give and take. So you just have to kind of think about what you want to do. The next one is going to be freelance work. So if you got a specific skill, especially in content creation, social media, even simple things like social media posting, right? And as well, graphic design, right? These kind of things, you can sell your services online on services like Fiverr, Upwork. I've hired tons of people through that. And you can make some good money. And nowadays, AI makes it even easier because you can use the stuff that the AI gives you, add your own little taste to it, and then boom, you've got some content creation, some graphic design, some social media posting. So this is definitely something that I would highly consider if you've got, maybe like an hour or two a day to just go ahead and make some extra cash and do these little online gigs. It's completely worth it. Check it out. The ones that I use are typically Fiverr and Upwork. Another thing that you can do if you've got actual products to sell, you can do e-commerce, right? Maybe going on Etsy, eBay, and if you can, if you're handy, nifty, whatever, and you can create some stuff, or you have some stuff that you can sell, get an e-com store. And if you don't have any products to sell, maybe consider doing something like drop shipping. I've done drop shipping before in the past, and that made me definitely good side income to help me get to the next level. So that's something to consider. Easy to start up, not much cost involved in it. Obviously if you do like a drop shipping where it requires a website, then it's going to cost a little extra, but I think it's completely worth it if you actually got a actual product to sell. So the next one is if you don't have any products to sell, you can do something like affiliate marketing. So affiliate marketing is where you essentially take somebody else's product or services and you go ahead and sell it, and you get a fee from it, a certain percentage from the sale. And this is something that a lot of people have made tons of money in before. And it's a proven method. It still goes on till this day. So if you got some extra time and you think you could sell some products to others, then this is another one that you can use. If you don't have any specific product yourself to sell, you go ahead and find somebody that would be willing to pay you some extra cash. So this way you can make some sales for them. The next one was one of my favorite for quite some time, and that's Uber and Lyft. And you know, you also have DoorDash, Instacart, and things like that. But when I was really on the grind and really just trying to generate a ton of income, and I didn't have any certain skills yet, I was doing Uber and Lyft like as soon as I got off work, and then that eventually became my my other hustle as well that allowed me to kickstart my real estate career. But Uber and Lyft is phenomenal because the really neat thing is you can work off of your own schedule. So if you've got a family, kids, right, and then you need to be available certain hours, and that's where Uber and Lyft comes in because you just go online at the time that you are available. And let's say you get off work after a certain time, get off late, 6, 7 o'clock, right? And that's what and you're only available after hours, 8, 9 o'clock or whatnot. Then you go online during that time. As long as you have high traffic in that area, you can make some serious good cash. And of course, you would need to have a vehicle that is fuel efficient. I had a Toyota Prius, so it was phenomenal for doing Uber and Lyft. If you have something that's not as well fuel efficient, it may not make any sense. So just something to consider. Another neat one is where you rent out your car. So I was on a service called Turo at one point, and I rented out my vehicle. And it's really nice because if you work remotely and you don't use your car that much, it's being wasted. So you just go ahead and rent it out to somebody, right? And you can do drop off, pick up, however you want to do it. Obviously, the more options you have available, the more that you'll be able to make. But it was a really nice income generator. I did it, but I did it with a luxury vehicle, and I didn't really enjoy it that much in terms of the payout that I got from the usage of my luxury vehicle. So I stopped eventually doing it. But I think if you had a nice fuel efficient and nothing crazy, just a everyday vehicle, I wouldn't mind doing it as much because of the fact that it's not such a lot of wear and tear on your vehicle, and the money's actually worth it. So something to consider if you've got a car just sitting around and you want to put it to use. The next one is becoming a mobile notary. Now this doesn't cost you much to get registered as a notary, probably about a couple $100 at most and registering with the city, but this can make you a ton of money. This is a service that gets used on a daily basis, especially in the real estate industry, but there's a lot more as well. But all you have to do is go to people's houses and get documents notarized after you get them to sign. And you don't have to know anything about it. I've had notaries come to my house that had zero idea on what I was signing. And they just notarize it and boom, you're done. And this is a service that if you did it as a part-timer, you could probably make a couple $1,000s a month if you're doing it efficiently, right? Otherwise, if you do it as a full-timer, you can make up to $75,000 or more per year as a mobile notary. So this is a really neat service and doesn't cost much to get started. The next one is getting ordained. And this is a really neat one because it doesn't take much volume and you can make a good amount of money. I knew a lady that charged $500 per ceremony, and she did our ceremony actually. And it's one of those things where you do 4 of these a month and you got an extra $2,000 for the month. So it's a phenomenal thing, and especially it's a wedding ceremony, so it's always I'm hoping majority of the time it's going to be super happy people, right, that you're dealing with. So that's the really neat thing about it. You get to bring people together for life. So that's another thing to consider is getting ordained. If you were in school, college, right, and then you have a good academics skill, another thing to consider is tutoring. Tutoring, you can make a good amount of money tutoring kids, right? And it's not anything crazy that you're going to be tutoring them majority of the time either, right? Math, English, things like that, nothing crazy. So tutoring, if you have good academic skills where you can make some extra cash tutoring some kids. Another one is local business services. So these are services that you can do in your local community. It's an actual business, and it can eventually turn into something else. So you can start up doing a cleaning service, start off 1-2 clients, get referred out to more, and eventually become a cleaning service, right? You could do a power washing company, you could do a landscaping company, you can do a window cleaning company, you can do a car washing company, a mobile detailer. There's a lot of services that you can do with this one, and the neat thing is it turns into other referrals, and eventually you'll have a full-blown business at your hands where you're making a ton of money from it. So local service businesses, if you have a skill or a trade that you're really good at, consider starting that as a side gig, right? So if you're doing, as a full-timer, an electrician at an electric company already, start a side business doing things on your own, right? That's how you start generating more income, and then eventually this can become your whole business. If you're a pet lover, this one's a no-brainer. Doing pet sitting or dog walking, right? It's a really neat thing because a lot of people, especially if they're busy, they don't have time to walk their dogs, and they've got money to be able to pay somebody to go ahead and walk the dogs for them. I'm the opposite. I like to walk my dogs and spend the time with them, and I make good money as well, but there's a lot of people out there that will definitely pay for that. But the pet sitting part is phenomenal because especially if they have multiple pets, like how I do, we've got 4 dogs, and every time we need a pet sitter, they charge $200 to come hang out at our house and literally just chill, watch TV, hang out with the dogs, and spend time with them. And they make $200. What's not to love about that? That's phenomenal. I would love to do that. So this is a great one if you love pets, and if you don't have pets, that's even a plus because now you get to enjoy other people's pets. So this is one to seriously consider and make good money out of if you love pets. This one kind of ties into the local service business and as well the pet sitting and pet walking, and it's actual pet waste removal. So we pay a service where every time they come out, they pick up the dog poop, $25 each time that they would come out and pick up dog poop for us. So that's a really neat service that you can do, and that's super easy, and it's a no-brainer, and especially if you're nearby and you're looking to make some quick cash. So this service that we pay for, they pretty much have a whole schedule lined up to where they go around the neighborhood and that have people have pets and scoop up poop, and then they get paid. So it can add up. You do 4 yards, $100, and it doesn't take long either. And you're just picking up pet shit. It's nothing crazy. The next one is if you are good with kids, right? Childcare and caregiving. That is a thing that a lot of people need, and especially if you have a good personality for it, people would pay a ton for that. It's a lot of people are busy nowadays. They need help with the kids, and this is something that if you're really good at, you can make some serious cash with that. Just imagine babysitting 2-3 times a week for a different family, couple hours, right? You make $200-300. All that can add up to thousands of dollars a month taking care of a baby, right? It's no easy business, that's for sure, but it's something that if you're good at and you enjoy doing, and as well you build a nice relationship with another family and as well the kid. So it's a really neat thing if you enjoy spending time with kids. And part of the caregiving aspect, it can actually be for adults as well. So there's elderly parents that may need help, and that's typically, I would think you'd be able to make a little more money because this is going to be a higher end income person that's working a lot but not being able to be around to help out the elderly person take care of themselves. And if you're handy with that, if you're really good with elderly people and you could help give them a hand, you can make some good money doing that as well. The next one is being a runner for a business. So being a runner could mean a bunch of different things, but you're essentially a person that helps a business owner or person in the business complete tasks, and it could be variable, different bunch of tasks. So for example, when I had a runner, I had them doing things such as picking up lock boxes, installing lock boxes, dropping off some sign writers, checking in on projects being completed, and sometimes I needed help even picking up materials or picking up dry cleaning, dropping off, things like that. So you're just essentially helping out and fitting in where things are needed, right? Fitting in roles where you're needed. So that's one thing that could be super useful, especially if you've got availability on times where the other person may not be available during those time slots. These last two I left for last because this is probably going to be the one that requires a little more involvement, and as well a little more skills, and that's going to be flipping cars or maybe flipping houses like how I do it, right? So flipping cars is going to require you to have some sort of knowledge when it comes to vehicles. If you're handy and you can fix stuff, even better, because then that'll save you some money on having to pay a mechanic to check out vehicles before you purchase or make repairs and whatnot when you can actually do it instead. This is one that's also going to require some funds, right? You're going to need to at least have a startup fund of 2 to 3,000 to get a reliable car that you can resell for hopefully $4,000+, right? My brother actually flips cars, and he gets on average about $1,000 to $2,000 net per vehicle when it's like, your everyday vehicle. And then he does the high-end luxury ones as well, where he makes a little more money. But that's one that is, again, going to require some expertise, knowledge, and as well have maybe some experience with doing some car repairs. For flipping houses, especially flipping houses, there's a huge profit margin if done correctly, but there is also the larger risk aspect of it. For me, I flip houses, but I have experienced the shittier side of flipping houses where I've lost money on deals. I'm talking $15,000, $20,000 losses on deals because I underestimated and overvalued. And that's something that you learn and you get better with as you go. And then there's also deals where I've made a ton of money, maybe grossing $100-something thousand on a flip. But you don't always get those, right? And it's going to take some time and as well for you to learn through your mistakes in order to keep improving each time. But this is one that is definitely going to require, one, expertise and knowledge, and as well, two, you're going to need to have the right people, right? So you need the right team, right contractor, right lenders, right? There's a lot of moving parts. And you also, three, need to know your market very well. So these are things that I left for last because it does require a little more involvement, but the returns are really nice, especially if done right, because on average you can make on flipping cars $1,000 to $2,000 on low-end vehicles if you're buying them under $3,000-$4,000 range, right? And then you can make a lot more on the higher end, but you could also lose a lot more on the higher end as well if you don't know what you're doing. And the same thing on the flipping houses side. For me, ideally my average deals, what I would like to be able to walk away net in my pocket is at minimum $25,000 to $35,000. I aim for the higher end on that because things do pop up in projects regardless of how good you get. Investors out there, it's not all sunshine and rainbows with flipping. There are crap that pop up that it's very hard to avoid. You won't know until you start pulling things apart, right? But you can make some good money if you know what you're doing. But you just need to have the right knowledge and have the right people around you for both of these things. If you found this information valuable, please hit the thumbs up button. And as well, comment down below. I'd be curious on your feedback, what your thoughts are on this list. And as well, if you've done any of these things and what your returns were, that'd be great. And as well, please consider subscribing if you want to see more of these videos, all right? Because I try to drop as many as I can, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. But just let YouTube know that I'm doing a good job at doing it. Thank you.